what don't we have that you're looking for? And, like, when we looked at the Exiles, the original three were Granok, Orin, and Human. And we're like, but there's nothing dark. There's nothing dark about this. And that's why we added the Mordesh. The Mordesh was like the final piece. And on the opposite end, it was on Dominion, it was the Makari, the Draken, and again, the Human. And we're like, we don't really have anything, cute. But it's cute for the Dominion. I mean, the Chula are kind of like a-holes, like they're cute in appearance, but they have this different attitude that fits the Dominion. And we definitely looked at that because I think, when we were, working on WoW, when we launched, the original thing was that a lot of people just played Alliance because they had good-looking or appealing, characters. And that's why they decided to go with Blood Elf for the first expansion, because they wanted something on the Horde that was a little bit more pretty or appealing, right? And for us, that was our first decision we made when we decided to do two factions, was to do humans on both sides, because there are certain subsets of players that will only play human because they only relate to human. And we're like, okay, we don't want to, have the balance be on the good guys or the bad guys or whatever, because only one of them has human. So that was like our first choice when we did that. But yeah, all those choices, we made those choices for a reason. It wasn't just, happenstance or, hey, we lucked out or anything like that.
I'd almost be interested in the ratio of women to men on your teams, because I haven't seen a game before that kind of capitalizes on cuteness and yet is supposed to be, it's almost like Borderlands crashed into the Powerpuff Girls.
Right.
Like there's this strange like sheep and bunny obsession, but yet they're really sassy. And
Yeah.
it's kind of I guess it would encompass like both genders for me, like as far as what would be appealing.
I think now we have a pretty good percentage of females on the team. I want to say probably around 20-25% of our design and art team are female. But the funny thing is, at the time we made those choices, I think we were predominantly male. And I don't know, maybe it's just, again, like we just like the cute stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like the brony thing didn't come into play until a few years later.
Yeah.
But
Care Bears,
yeah,
though,
I mean,
they
like
were out.
I love the Powerpuff Girls. Like I think, Gendy Tartakovsky Samurai Jack is one of the all-time greatest cartoons, right? But I don't know. Like I think we just looked at it and we were like, I don't know, something was appealing about it, or maybe there wasn't a lot. Again, there's not a lot of it in the MMO space, and we just saw an opportunity where we were like, hey, we could really have kind of this anime influence. I think a lot of us were also watching Teen Titans. Teen Titans. They had that point where they'd go full anime, and we really liked that, and that kind of just started working its way into the Orin. Was more of these, anime cliches, and our concept art would have like little hearts that were broken over their head, or like a thought balloon with a fish in it, or something like that. And it really kind of had this fun, cutesy vibe to it. But we also thought it would be cool if like the cutesy stuff were, also tough. Like we described the Orin. Like at first, like people were like, why would the Orin ever be violent or anything? And, why would they fight? And, we said, well, if you take if you threaten like the teddy bear of someone, then they turn on you. And that kind of really said, okay, yeah, we could work with that, and then the Orin males were definitely, from a personality standpoint, we looked at Naruto. And we were like, yeah, basically that is that kind of cocky, super positive attitude type thing that where you might be a little bit annoyed with it. I think that was always the thing, right? Like we we talked about this, and some people are like, I hate the Orin, right? And we're like, well, who do you like? And they're like, I love the Draken. We're like, good, because if you're a Draken, if you play as a Draken, you should hate the Orin.
Yes.
You should want to kill them. We decided that we wanted to make a community of people that loved and hate things. If you hate the Chua or if you hate the Makari, then you'll love killing them, right? And I think that's a really important thing to have in a game, especially a social game where you're trying to create these factions and you're trying to create, open world PvP and have the community just take it and run with it. Whereas if everything was kind of vanilla and just like, oh, I like it, fine. If you don't love it or hate it, you kind of have to have that polarizing factor in your game.
Gotcha. The Strain coming out soon. Were you thinking of the look of that and trying to make it, separate than the main game? Is there something that's inspiring you to kind of create the artistic direction in that way?
I think what we wanted was, again, like I think we wanted to make sure that the Strain is one of the main villains of our game, or one of the main factions of our game that's a villain, right? And when we designed it, we're like, okay, what's this going to be? And I think it started early on, a long time ago. It was a little more demonic, and we didn't want to go demonic with it because we're like, hey, we really want to have that sci-fi vibe to it. And what we kind of took was a mixture of like Aliens and The Thing, like John Carpenter's The Thing, and wanted to kind of run it through this Wildstar filter and see the craziness that kind of comes out the other end. And I think that like we wanted to feel like a viral type thing that people could catch and that could infect the planet and all that stuff. And I think when we mixed all that stuff together, that's just kind of what came out. We knew we wanted it to still be colorful and everything, but when people are dealing with the Strain in the game, it's definitely tonally different. It's not fun. I know the Strain trailer is funny, but it's actually not funny in game. Like, it is serious. Like, when you are dealing with the Strain, lives are in danger, and it's not something we generally joke around with inside the game. And we just wanted to have that. Before this, we had a lot of different world groups and factions that you could kind of relate to, that you understood their story, but we wanted one that was just like a pure force of destruction that is a threat to everybody. That it's not just like, oh, I could team up with this, or I could reason with this, these types of groups. It is just like, no, they will take over and they will destroy you. I think that's really where it came from. From a visual standpoint, though, we just wanted something very different. We didn't have anything like that in the game. It's kind of like this bioorganic alien virus. So there's lots of pustules and eyeballs, and it just kind of made sense because we just looked at the rest of the game and we're like, what's missing? And that's what came out.
Gotcha. You've recently announced guild player housing, and not saying when other than post-launch development, things like that. Now you're dealing with a really large group structure. Does that affect how you think about the building or the design, which is like the small single-person house? Like, what kind of difference is there when you're dealing with multiple people in a space?
I mean, I think just everything has to be built for groups, right? And I think when you look at our leveling content, or like the open world where you're doing a quest versus dungeon content or group content, you just have to completely design it differently. Space change. You have to understand that, hey, there's going to be 20 people, or there's going to be 5 people, or 40 people in this space, and you really can't just say, oh, this works for everybody, because like some of our PvP maps, they're like 10v10 versus an arena that could be 2v2. So I think when you look at that, you look at housing, you need to understand this is no longer one person running around on this map. You have to assume that there's going to be, a large group of people here, and that affects everything because you have to do everything on a bigger scale. That's from a visual standpoint. From a design standpoint, it's just all about everything needs to be social or group oriented, right? Like there shouldn't be a lot of stuff that you could do as an individual that doesn't have a benefit for a group. So I think that's just like I think that's one of the tougher things for an MMO is you have a lot of solo players and you design a portion of the game for them, and then you want people to group. You want everybody to group. You want everybody to be in a guild, but you don't want to force it. So you try to encourage it. But I think that when you dub something like guild housing, that there's going to be an assumption that you have to be in a guild. You're going to have to participate as a group, and if you don't participate as a group, you're probably not going to enjoy guild housing because otherwise it's just solo housing, which we already have.
Right. Makes sense. What are your thoughts on subscriptions versus free to play, which is always a hot button topic?
Well, I'm going to be biased on this. For me, I like the sub stuff because I think you pay for what you get. Like I pay for like I sub to Netflix, I sub to Amazon. I sub to lots of different things in my life. The cell phone bill, I like the cell phone plan where it's like I get unlimited everything, and that way I don't have to worry about it, right? Because I have friends that are always like, I can't look that up on Google right now because I've used all my data and I'll get charged. So I kind of like I don't have to think about it. And from a developer standpoint, I don't like to feel like I'm nickeling and diming players for every little thing, right? If we make a cool outfit, we know that 100% of our subscribing players are going to get that, right? And that's an interesting way to design. So like, that everybody's going to have access to this level or this dungeon or this housing decor or this outfit or something like that. And I think that's a benefit as a developer in that you could just make certain assumptions that people have access to these things and they can get these things. Whereas if you monetize every little thing in your game, you're really going to divide up your player base into people that have everything and people that don't. And I don't play a lot of free-to-play games, but I just don't like I can't team up with this guy because I'll take this back. My nephew plays Wizardry 101, I think it is.
Okay.
And he wanted me to play, and I'm like, cool, I'll play because it's a free-to-play game. And I started playing with him, and my nephew actually paid, or my sister actually paid money for my nephew to be in a higher level or in a different zone or something like that. And he's like, Uncle Matt, will you play here? And I'm like, no, I have to pay for that, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, I'm not going to put enough time into this game where it's worth for me to pay a one-time fee just so I could play with him. And it kind of made me sad that I had to make a decision about whether I'm going to pay for that particular area to be with, someone I wanted to play with. I think that for our game, because it's a one-time fee and you get everything, that, it is more social. That everybody's opt-in, everybody's equal at that level. There's no like, oh, this player base has access to this and this player base doesn't. And I think it allows you to just design a more cohesive game experience.
Gotcha. Chat, we're going to take a couple questions soon, so if you have anything you would like to ask, now's the time to begin to type it into chat. We'll see if you guys do. Last couple questions in the meantime. Worst and best design moment of your career?
Ooh. Worst and best. I would say the best, I think, is actually when we decided to do housing in Wildstar. Like literally, everything about it felt right. Like